Soul walkout. Oh, that's a good question. Soul walkout. A soul walkout is essentially, I was talking with somebody earlier, and I'm sure, JJ's like the expert when it comes to this. Wait, Tatiana, I just want to make sure, did you have anything else that was on your mind you wanted to share? So good to see you. Yeah. So if you think of a soul integration as a soul walk-in, so an aspect, parallel past future version of us is what I call an aspect, and welcome in, by the way, to our Limitless Creators call, weekly call. We got a couple slides, and we'll see if we got time. If we feel aligned, we can hop in after the shares. Maybe do like a meditation or an activation and kind of do some embodiment of this practice. Yeah, essentially, during an MSI, you have a walk-in, so a portion of yourself. We call it in intentionally. A soul walk-out is similar but different. I can pull the slides up and we can go over it here in just a minute. But the short version of it is essentially like a version of ourself, parallel past future. Not labeling it as like good or bad per se, because humans, we love labels, right? We love to assign something to this and say, you're this. Bad. We love, for whatever reason, we love stories, man. We like saying something is outside of us, right? We like to be like, oh, this thing. We like to compartmentalize things. We like to put them in those cute little boxes in our brain, right? The little boxes. And none of the boxes can touch in your brain. They gotta be all, some people, they gotta be all organized. My brain has piles in it. But essentially, a walk out allows us to, it's a version of us that, and I'll explain in a bit more detail, but instead of something coming in, we're basically calling something into completion or allowing it to leave and return back to unity, oneness, wholeness, God, source, creator, in like a more intentional way. We do all of this, like in the dream space, kind of unconsciously or subconsciously. It's really natural. This happens all the time. We're closing and collapsing timelines, converging different versions of ourselves, calling in, like in your dreams, you're seeing sometimes you'll catch glimpses of these different versions of us. And you're like, man, that, for example, like you're having a dream and it's like, okay, some of these people I know, some of these people I don't know for whatever reason. It looks similar to what's happening in this reality, but it's slightly just different. And you're like, okay. And those glimpses are just basically different versions of us. Very natural, very common. The modalities themselves, so like MSI is one of the modalities. Okay, let's see. Thank you for the card pulls. Download these and we can pull them up. But yeah, it's just a version of ourselves that may have served you for a time, maybe is still serving you in some ways. Different versions of us. We have these different personas, right? If you want to think of it as a persona or a portion of you that we put on, basically. And like I said, maybe it's a version of yourself from before you were spiritual, or before you were activated, and that version of you is still kind of hanging out. You know what I mean? It's still in there. And maybe from time to time you catch glimpses of it. Sometimes you don't. For me, and I'll just keep it like, I'll tell you a story when we get to that. The version that I channeled came in a session, and when we were in Egypt, and somebody was like, hey, I feel like there's a version of you that's ready to leave or ready to walk out. And I was kind of like in denial. Like it was unconscious for me at the time. I was like, I'm not, that doesn't really resonate, I think it's my response or something like that. I was quiet. And I wasn't ready in that time for a soul walk out. I just wasn't. But the person who was channeling it is somebody that I trust very dearly. And they were like adamant. They're like, yeah, it feels like, there's something here that is ready to like leave, basically. And at that time I wasn't ready for the soul walkout. This is back in September, so this is, I guess, 6 months ago now, probably. 7 months. So 7 months ago, basically, I wasn't ready for it to leave. But I'll share with you kind of what happened fairly recently and all. So stay tuned, and I'll give you a sneak peek of the most intimate details of my life. Oh man, dude, it's funny. Yeah, how raw is that? I just channel this stuff in, bring it through for you guys, and share it, and hopefully it resonates, you know what I mean? And hopefully we can all do this for one another. Right. Here's the slides, and like I said, it's not a whole bunch of slides or anything like that. He said I can relate. Leah said I can relate. Yeah, so we got a couple slides, nothing super long. I dropped them into the chat, or you can pull them out of the Telegram too if you need them again. Just hit me up and type it out there. Soul walkouts, and we're going to talk about templates as well too. Now it looks like a desert, yeah.
Dessert, the food dessert.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Aurora's caught on to me that I keep making new versions of this kind of picture right here. All right, so this is what we're going to talk about today, and thank you so much for tuning in. I always love to start off with gratitude and say thank you for feeling aligned to hop on the call with us. So happy to feel and see and hear every single person here and who's joining us in the playback as well, or weaving with us in the Telegram. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So grateful for you. Brothers and sisters, you can feel your energy, you can feel your frequency. And if you want to, I'm not necessarily going to officially open space right now, but it just came through because we may get to a portion where we'll actually hop in. So if you want to open space where you're at, feel free to take a little bit of time here and open space for yourself if that feels necessary. I don't know why, that just came through. Grab your crystals, your candles. I got a couple crystals around me. Actually, I got 4 crystals around me. Your deck, thank you, Leah, for sharing those cards. We'll pull them up here. Always don't forget to breathe, to get into your body. But yeah, this is what they are. Aurora, thank you so much for asking too. Versions of ourselves. Some people, there's different verbiage, so I want you to just use whichever one feels most aligned to you. It could be a fragment, a shard, a soul piece. I kind of view them as different versions of us. It can be harmonized, unharmonized. Somebody I was chatting with earlier said, oh, what about all of these other timelines too? Because we've all activated our own frequency of remembrance, and as we've remembered and you've been having these lifetimes come through you, she said, what about sometimes it feels like a piece of that gets stuck? And I was like, oh, that's actually like, that resonates with me. So when I first started, I was like kind of overwhelmed with just I didn't understand what was happening on my remembrance, and it felt like once I learned how to witness and then just release it, it was much more resonant. But I did kind of resonate with what she said, where it was like, oh, it does kind of feel like some other versions of me stuck around unintentionally as I was putting myself through this. In the beginning, I quickly kind of got it cleared out. So that's my definition of a soul walkout, and we'll get into it a little bit more. Some of the benefits of performing a soul walkout. I think reclamation is huge, and we've talked about all of this stuff throughout the last probably 8 months, different versions of this. JJ is focused specifically on restoration, and our community focused specifically on quantum harmonization. Reclamation to me is like just calling back all of those versions of us. And then the restoration is kind of like not quite harmonization, and I'm not saying that any of us are less than whole. I just want to kind of make that clear. I'm not saying that at all. These are just kind of like terms for what we're going through here. But there is kind of like a tiered process, right? And I'm not saying you got to do all of these linearly at all, because we are your limitless, infinite, 5D, 12D, 36D creator. So don't ever let me speak into your experience. You can do all of these at the same time. You can do all of these in parts and pieces. You can literally hop straight to harmonization and just work with that frequency if that's what resonates with you. I linked the playback there if you want to listen to the quantum restoration versus quantum harmonization. The harmonization is just like kind of the parallel past or future version of us fully harmonized across all that is, all timelines, parallel past, future. I put in there results in a quantum activation. If you've ever experienced a quantum activation, it's not like what I would consider a very traditional activation. This is like next level. This is like highly energetic, extremely like powerful and potent. For me, when I had my first quantum activation, I was at Stonehenge. I got temporarily kind of like pushed out of my body, but it was unreal. It was unlike anything I've ever experienced activation-wise. Don't get me wrong, like our community, we do very powerful activations. Many people do very powerful activations, but quantum activation is just kind of like, it's next level. Having a soul walk out allows the space for expansion too. We talk about times you'll see us like stretching, somatic movement, using the breath. It's very important to have room in the physical body, mental, emotional body, the auric field for this expansion. If you've ever had like a dragon aspect come in, it feels like you're stuffing an elephant into like your body, you know, and it's just not comfortable. That's the best analogy I can give you. So by performing these walkouts, it just lets us have more space, you know. JJ had talked about like the spaces in between the vertebrae, in between the actual spine itself, and you'll see at times like we'll yawn or we'll stretch, and that's like important. And then the nervous system regulation. Nervous system is a huge thing right now. We were sharing earlier, safety has been like kind of this theme as well too that's happening in the body. You know, not feeling safe, not feeling it's grounded, and all these can be very disorienting. So this tool or modality will allow you to kind of get more comfortable with what's happening energetically. This is where we're going to kind of talk about the actual process itself. So I like to give you practical application, like aligned action steps. I don't just like to talk about theories. And all of this is something that I put myself through last night, actually. I've seen a couple of these performed prior to my own walkout, and I'll kind of tell you the story about my walkout that I put myself through last night. But this is basically the gist of it. Set and setting is your environment is huge with anything that you do. So always try and do it in like a safe, sacred space if you can. I can't harp on set and setting. Like music is a big thing for me. Some people are really into scents. You know, cleansing your space if you have the ability to do that. Not everybody can afford to do that or has the ability to do that. So these are all just recommendations. Preferably in a safe and sacred space. Preferably if you're going to have somebody else there with you, it's somebody that is like aligned, calibrated to your frequency. You know, I always say divine masculine, divine feminine. It doesn't need to be a masculine body or a feminine body, but masculine and feminine is a very powerful synergistic combination. Opening space with intention setting. Every single thing that we do is intentional. every single thing that we do is intentional. So I always say, if you're going to hop into a ceremony, open your space, close your space, start with and lead with our intention. The next step that I did after opening space is this term right here, the third bullet, unified universal Akashic. I want you to use whatever resonates with you. If it's the galactic Akashic, if it's planetary Akashic, if you only resonate with the word like Akash or Akashic, just use whatever resonates with you. There are different levels of the Akashic, and the highest one that we've channeled and kind of gotten to is the unified universal Akashic. This is above like our own galactic Akash. I'm sure there are other levels above that. This is just the highest that we've achieved so far. And then calling in a field. So I called in a field of quantum flow or 0 point. There are other types of fields that you can work with, and literally this is just your pure intention. Setting an intention, saying it out loud, vocalizing, I am calling in a field of quantum flow, 0 point energy. There are other fields that you can work with. It doesn't have to be these two fields. These are just the fields that I prefer to work in, because for me the 0 point is much more resonant and aligned, and it gives you access across all that is. So this is all parallel paths, dimensions, reality, space, the spaces in between. So instead of saying all that and trying to memorize that, because clearly I haven't memorized, I just say calling in a field of quantum flow or 0 point energy across all that is, and that covers everything. Sometimes I will say it, but if you don't have it memorized, if you just say it, 0 point across all that is, that covers everything. Timelines, dimensions, reality, space, spaces in between. Channeling. So I channel, other people here channel, we co-channel together as a community. When you're in this ceremony or ritual, you can use cards. I have cards in my hand. Leah posted some cards earlier. You can use tarot, oracle, pendulum, muscle testing. Some people use like the rods, whatever you use that is reliable for you. To me, the highest frequency is channeling, but not everybody can channel. There's nothing wrong with using cards. I use cards all the time whenever I'm in sessions. For my own healing as well, I use cards. Some people are like super, they rely on their pendulum, or they use their pendulum as a backup to their intuition, to channeling. Some people are primarily in the frequency of muscle testing, and that's okay too. I'm not saying anything is wrong or right. Use whatever is most resonant for you, whatever you're most comfortable with. So here is where I'll kind of tell the story here, and then we'll pick back up on the actual bullets, but recognizing of the actual walkout. So this is a version of you. This walkout is a version of us. I'm going to stop the share so we can look at ourselves here. I like to see everybody's cute, pretty little faces. So I'll tell you the story of my own walkout, and if anybody else has a walkout story, I would love to hear your story or any shares you have. So basically the story goes for me is I was in Egypt back in September. My friend brought forward and said, hey, I think there's a version of you that is ready to leave, is ready to walk out. I wasn't receptive to it at that time. I basically put resistance into the field, and I said, that doesn't resonate. Nope. Very masculine, right? Very like, no, I don't know what you're talking about, so no. So I resisted it. Now it's 7 months later, and I've been feeling this as I've learned about this. I've been feeling this. I was like, yeah, I feel like there is a version of me that is no longer as aligned to my path, right? I couldn't explain it. It was just a feeling that I had. There's something inside of me that doesn't feel fully harmonized, even though I've done a lot of harmonization. There's something there. And then when I learned about the walkout from JJ, part of our the practitioners, we get together, the MSI practitioners, we channel monthly. We have monthly updates, and we all channel together, and she brought through the walkout. So I heard that a few weeks ago, and typically I bring the updates to our community and I share. And ever since she brought it through a couple weeks ago, I was like, okay, great. Here is something that I know will work for this walkout. So last night, through pure synchronicity, I was like, oh, let me just get into the channel. So I actually got the ping to hop into my channeling session because I had been at a bonfire the night before, and the bonfire that I led is people from my healing center. We were all there together. I had gotten some intuition that said, hey, there was, Adrienne was there. She was at the bonfire too, playing her violin. I got an intuitive hit that I had an attachment from something that happened. I wasn't exactly sure. So I was like, okay, this was last night. I'm going to hop in. I'm going to look for this attachment. That's how I got there. So I get into the channel, close my eyes, put my music on. I do my normal thing that I do, and I'm looking for an attachment in my field. And the attachment that I see immediately as soon as I get into the field, call my guides in, I do all the things that I normally do. There was an attachment in my field, and it looked like a tetrahedron. So it's a four-sided triangle made out of fire. So it's the element of fire because we were sat at a bonfire. It's a four-sided triangle, basically, and it's inverted. The base is at my third eye, and the point is pointing down at my throat chakra. So it's connecting my third eye to my throat chakra with an elemental tetrahedron four-sided pyramid, just a pyramid if you want to think like that. So I'm like, okay, cool, bet. I can see that, cleared that immediately, right? No problem. Like I'm a trained Reiki healer. I could do quantum healing. I cleared it out. And while I'm in there, I'm like, okay, let me look. This is where we're going with the walkout. I was like, I'm in here. Let me just look and see if there's anything else. And I'm searching my own field at this point. And then I get into my field, because typically I'm not looking at my field. My field is just there. It's like my grid. It's just doing its thing. And I'm in session, and I look, and there's a shadow. And I'm like, okay, there's a shadow in my field. But the shadow didn't feel wrong. It didn't feel right. It just was there. It was mostly opaque, dark gray. It wasn't like black or anything, but it was a dark gray shadow. And I've been channeling for this call, so I was like, okay, there's a possibility that this is walkout. So I asked, I said, is this a walkout? And I got yes. I said, okay, well, it feels like me. It doesn't feel bad or wrong. It doesn't feel like an attachment or a distortion or anything. It feels kind of like me. And then I asked, I was like, yeah, this is me. I said, okay, great. Like, this is the opportunity I've been waiting for a while. It just happened that there's a shadow here. This is an aspect of me. And on the slides, I kind of go into detail. So we're at the point now. Hey, what's up, Vincent? Just explaining to them my walkout, brother. So I found this shadow in my field. I asked, and I found, okay, this shadow is me. This is a version of me that's ready to walk out. I verified, asking for consent, just like anybody, myself, for consent, basically, saying, hey, is this ready to happen? And it felt it was ready to happen. So I started out with just like pure love and gratitude, okay? Like I'm just following my intuition. I had already seen this happen, but it's been a while, it's been 7 months. So I just started with pure love and gratitude, giving this version of myself deep love, just saying, hey, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you, for being there for me. I'm so grateful for you, like, showing up for me. I'm so grateful for all of the years that you've held me, for all the years that you were there for me, all the years that you've led me through, all of these tough times, because I had a lot of times heading into my awakening. It was just like deep gratitude, deep love, like really just so, you know what I mean? And as I'm giving it gratitude, like I'm starting to kind of get emotional, and it's kind of like overtaking me in a bit, and just how grateful I am to this version of myself for being there for me, for allowing me to kind of awaken, for getting myself to where I am, to who I am today, this deeply spiritual person. And then I'm going through that for a while, and then as I get to a point where basically I'm pulling cards, and as I'm pulling cards, like in the session, I have cards in my hand, and I'm pulling cards, and the first card that I pull, and I'll drop it into the chat there so you guys can see, is the land between. So to me, the land between is like separation, okay? So the first card is the land between. I'm giving gratitude. I'm being thankful. I'm being super grateful. I get a tall tale. And a tall tale to me was kind of like, it's like a story, basically. It's a version. Maybe it's a lie. Maybe it's something that I'm attached to. That's what I took that card as. A version of myself that I'm attached to. A story or a version of myself that I was attached to at a point. And then I'm gratitude, and then I pull the card. It says, let it go. The third card is like a heart, very like organic looking heart. And as I pull this card out of the deck, I start fucking bawling, dude. I cry so fucking hard, and I'm getting emotional talking about it. Like I bawled so hard, dude. I cried my eyes out for 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes, and I'm like bawling uncontrollably, right? Bawling uncontrollably. It's this huge, massive energetic release that I'm having because this is a version of myself that I'm letting go of. This is a version of myself that I'm calling into completion. This is a version of myself that I'm sending back into unity consciousness, back to wholeness, back to God, source, creator. But this is a version of myself that I've been with for my entire life. I'm 46 years old, so I don't know how long this version's been around with, but it felt like an unhealed version of myself prior to my awakening. So it's been around a long time. So I'm just like bawling, I'm crying, I'm sobbing so fucking hard, and I get myself kind of composed 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes, and I felt like, okay, I'm at a point now. I can kind of I want to kind of call this into completion. Basically, I want to integrate this like a very aligned way. And I pulled the last card. The last card that I pulled, because I'm asking for confirmation, is was a higher view. So for me, that was the confirmation that I needed, that the walkout had happened. It had returned back to, I just said like fully harmonized, back to God, source, creator, back to oneness, back to wholeness. That's kind of the intention that I'm repeating. And then I got that confirmation as well. And I did a little bit more channeling afterward, just kind of like sitting there in the session and just kind of showing up for myself. But I got the ping. I was like, hey, and it's on the slides here too, that the importance of having like a witness. I felt it was important to have. I'll show the cards here so you guys can see. These are the cards that I pulled where I was telling you, like the land between, a tall tale, let it go, and then the confirmation card that I got was a higher view, and I dropped those into the chat. But I was like, I felt the need. I was like, hey, I really wanted somebody to kind of witness this, because there is a lot of power in having somebody like witness you. So these are the kind of the steps that I took myself through, integrating. And then I reached out kind of in text. I texted a couple people who were able to reply back and kind of like witness for me. I told them, hey, something really important happened. I just didn't like need a witness. And a couple people responded, so thank you so much to them, and deep gratitude to them for replying back to me and kind of witnessing what I took myself through. I guess before we move on, I wanted to kind of like pause X here and see if you guys had any questions, anything that you wanted to share, anything that's come through for you. Maybe you put yourself through this before and you wanted to share, or what you got thoughts on that?
First of all, thank you for sharing. That's just a really beautiful, vulnerable, powerful transformation. I feel like there's been a lot, like I said, shedding this week too, but I like the way that you're positioning it as a soul walkout, because I've been hearing about it in the collective through different people's posts and videos and my own kind of pondering, that it's an ego death, which is another way of kind of, I think, explaining or describing that. But I've definitely felt that big time this week. I felt like I was really able to see clearly the ego that shows up with a lot of guardedness, and the part of me that's become very like hardened and defensive. As a kid, I was just super joyful. I was constantly tumbling, doing gymnastics and laughing. I was like getting sent out of the classroom because I was giggling all the time. And then there was, a point, I don't know where it started, but, through divorce and all the things that happen when you're a kid, and, then all the stuff you experience as an adult, and you just become, you protect yourself and you put that layer up. And between last week when you were talking about like the frequency of celebration and bringing in the inner child, and I was thinking about that, and I was feeling into that, and I was like, I used to really be like that. And then I went to a kirtan last night, which is something I used to love to do. It's a yoga call and response chanting that really speaks to my heart. And they were talking about celebration as well. And I was like, what is it that's keeping me from this frequency of like being in joy and softness and, showing up with my heart? And I could just see this persona, this hardened kind of shell on the outside that was just layers of experience, and like this commitment to, I'm going to be tough, I'm going to be strong, I'm going to be defensive, nobody's going to put me down, or all the things that build up and calcify like limestone in our energetic field. And it's not that I haven't known that it was there. I was just able to really see it clearly, and been seeing all these hawks flying above, like your higher view. And then getting this sense of like, yeah, I'm getting really that ability to see that shadow clearly so that it can be released. And then after Vincent and I chatted a little bit, like I started seeing crows everywhere. Like I just saw one like dive from a top of a tree, like straight down, and drinking from my water fountain and sitting on the rail, even to the point where my husband, Jeff, was like, we never have crows just like sitting right there. And so I was looking up crows, but it's really about like transformation and rebirth and magic and, all these things. So there's something in the field where I feel like as these new gifts come in, like our heart really has to be open, and we've developed the tools to be able to keep our heart open and still stay protected energetically now. I think before maybe we didn't have the tools to stay open and be protected, so we fortified ourselves, but now we're so aware of like, not that we do it all the time, but we have the tools to protect our fields, to set our intentions, to clear ourselves of the negativity, to have compassion for those who, may have come at us with some unconsciousness that has hurt us. And, we have the tools to let those emotions kind of move through us now. So that's what's been going on in my week.
Yeah, thank you for that vulnerable share, sister. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the confirmation, and I love that we're all kind of feeling some stuff similar, same but different. And I resonate with that you shared too, about being the serious adult and the hardening of the heart at times, or everybody uses their own words, sealing and protection. We all kind of start spirituality like being really needing to like protect ourselves and seal ourselves and keep everything away, and me on the inside and you outside, and that is really separation consciousness, and that's kind of like spirituality 100. Unity is where we're all headed. Wholeness, oneness. So yeah, I think it's really important that I love that you brought that forward. Thank you.
And thank you so much for sharing, Tatiana. It's beautiful. And Faith, thank you so much for sharing also what you shared too. Feeling that is very important to be witness in that. And yes, Friday, I was seeing a wonderful healer, and she's such a top channeler, and she said to me, sometimes we protect ourselves so much because we've been bombed with everything around us, and we build those identities, we build that body, we build everything to protect us for being that sensible innocence that we've got inside us. But she told me a trick that I never thought. And she said, you know what you should do, and what your higher self is telling me for you to do, is to expand your field up to a arm length, like that, around you. And instead of all the protection identity body that you're building around you to protect yourself, it's going to be your field that is going to be protecting you, because not as a shield, but more as a field that whatever's going to enter that field is going to give you the time to just witness it from a distance, instead of being boom right in your face. So it gives you something to just, oh, okay, how do I react now? What are my feelings right now? Am I what's going on? What is it? What's that in my field, Do I allow it or not? It's just sometimes it moves fast, but to have that field, and our field of, instead of being shield, just to be aware and conscious. That for me is a game changer, because as an empath, as a super sensitive person, I always get so many things at the same time, and more on top of that, my emotion, or what am I feeling. So yeah, that was a game changer for me. And actually, I know that we are processing a big shift collectively, and all those emotions, but we're getting caught up to it. I'm walking in the wood, and I'm yeah, I'm walking. I'm whoa, Genevieve, can you just relax now? You're just slow down. Enjoy the moment. Why do I have to, do the things? And now I'm going there. And, just to bring it back to center and just breathe into it. You get emotion, let it in. Just okay, witness the emotion, let it go. It doesn't have to be we just relax into it. Feeling more okay, that's a flow. I know I'm experiencing a lot of things, but just breathe into that. So that helped me too since that weekend. But this is what I wanted to share. And about the walkouts, I experienced more than one. And the one that and actually the last part of myself that I needed to let go, the old version of me, I cried so much, I was in a grief. I was grieving myself, all the year that I was like close to that person, it was everything I built in my life to be. So it was very like a big moment of grief, but very liberating afterward. But I want to share another walkout that I experienced, which is like not a part of me. Well, it was a part of me. I went to see an Akashic channeler, and she said like there's a part of you that is longing like their star family. And I always like felt that like abandonment, or having like I don't know, it was like I'm alone, and this is like I'm so far from my not my family, but it was like something deep inside of me, like deep. And I did the shadow work and forgive my parents and everything, but it was like always there. And I'm like, what's going on with me? And that was like the first thing that she picked on that. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay. So I started to talk to that part of me, of my soul. And for a while, we like a channel, I took like the time to really communicate with that part of me. And then I said to it, if you want, just go back. It's okay. Your job here is done, and whenever you feel you want to come back, it's going to be okay. But for now, if you feel like you need to go back, just go back, and it's going to help me to process and move forward for a lot of things. And we did exactly like you did. So you said, Faith, I took like the time, set my intentions, and it walked out, went back to his star family. And I felt so relieved, like that part of me that was always like feeling that abandonment, or it was gone. And I could like and then I just like whoa, it went like super fast, like a lot of things just like move, harmonize, and everything. So those kind of also walkout can be very beneficial if you take the time to really like have the time to just have the communication to just feel it's right for yourself, of course. But yeah, that was pretty intense. And that's so funny because this morning I asked that part of me if it wanted, because it's like 3 years ago. So, or 3 years ago. And I asked, would you want to come back? Because with Egypt, I had like such a big like shift, like in my, it's just like, it went like, wow. So I'm like, okay, do you feel more safe now? Would you like to, experiment me or that part with me? And so we tried to fit in to bring it back, but it was like a part that wasn't still ready. So it just went back, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. But, there's parts of, I don't know if we're so limitless. I mean, there's none of, everything just need to feel aligned with yourself. So if it does, and if it don't, be it. So, and actually today also, I felt, I don't know, there's so many things every day, but I felt like drawn to draw like from my trip in Egypt. It's been like 2 weeks now. And I still process so much thing like during night shift. Whoa, it's always like so much stuff. And so I decided to draw a little bit. So I saw that I move like there's a part of me, and this needs to be witnessed. So it doesn't have to be nothing to do with the topic. So just thank you for witnessing. But I felt like the diamond frequency just weaving into me, like in a more like, I don't know, fluent way. And I'm like, oh, it was there, like tipping at the edge of my field for a long time, like since I'm Egypt, but now it's just like harmonized. So I'm gonna share the drawing, But I just like picked up a card for confirmation because just as Fate just shared, I love the cards to confirmation. So I just like picked up the diamond. I don't know if you can see it. I'll post it. But anyways, so it's the diamond dimension. So big confirmation for me. Yeah. So thank you for witnessing. There was so much been said right now. So thank you.
I'd like to say thank you to each and everybody who's shared on this. I think this is a very important thing as we're going through. It's not something that we like understood when we first started our spiritual journey, but it's so nourishing for each one of us to talk about it amongst ourselves here. Like Tatiana was saying, I had a like we talked because I was confused by a situation that a lot of spirit speaks to me through animals and my environment as pieces of puzzles that it wants me to find. I was having a hard time because like after I got back from Switzerland, robin had made a nest in the tree in front of my office. And it was easy to see the nest. They were there. It was really nicely built nest. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be wonderful. I get to see these chicks being like from nurturing from an egg to being born as chicks and things." And like it was going really beautifully. I'd have lots of conversations with the robin as I would come out and go between. I have two offices that I work through, and like it was fun. And like I was really appreciating how she was protective of her eggs, and like they would take turns sitting on the eggs and like going back and forth and whatever. But then last Thursday, like right before like our galactic meeting, crow was in the tree, and like it was dancing around and doing some stuff, and I was like, what the hell just happened here? The robin had its eggs taken by the crow and eaten, and the the robin was so distraught. And I was like, wow, this is like definitely the unexpected of what I was going to see in this, that I thought I was going to see, and it like I felt so bad for the robin. It had a beautiful nest there. I was like, I thought it was in a well-chosen place, but the crow had found her and ate the eggs, and uh, thank I thank Tatiana for like helping me out through that, because I wasn't seeing like, the like nature was speaking in so many dimensions that I couldn't even fathom like what was going on through that, and like the the blue of the robin egg, the like how nurturing the robin is, and what the true nature of the crow was like, like I had to bring those things through me. And like I'm still like, this is like the beginning of the process of kind of understanding it, because I'll let this like brew within me for weeks if I have to let it simmer into like I find it goes into places in my body and brings out things that I can speak to my consciousness with, and then like I'll get more little reminders as I go around, as the pieces of the puzzle keep popping up and showing me what's going on, like. And like on Friday, like I was like, I gotta go see how what this nest is, because the robins left. They're like, this is bunk. We got to go find the place to have the protected nest that we thought we had, And so I went up there and I looked at the nest. It was like it was so like intricately made and woven together. It had a nice mud bottom to it, which was nice and smooth. And but there was also a pile of like straw grass, and it was woven into like nesting materials. And I'm not sure what they were like. I think they might put that in the nest after the chicks hatch to like give the chicks protection or whatever. So I was like, I felt called to put this pile of stuff right on top of the nest as like, to like, okay, that all is done, and it just totally reminds me of what like Fate was talking about in his story of like, okay, like you have this newness, the spring growth that you're going through, like as your spiritual awakening, but you still have all of the world around you. And like the crow came in and took away that new spring growth, the beauty of like nature itself and reproduction is like it's it's one thing that's like I find reverence in because it speaks to me so deeply, like as like renewal, and I was excited to see that. But like, like, and a lot of us are like, I think our egos are excited to see what's going to happen, but it's still trying to be protective over us. And like that's one thing, like we're just like still like we're battling our ego, but we shouldn't be in a way. If when it's ready and the time is right, the the information will come in, remove what is not supposed to be there. Maybe those eggs, the crow sensed that there was a problem or something with them, and it came in and took that away or they're, like maybe I was putting too much like pressure on that situation for myself. I don't, I'm not sure, like, totally detaching from the expectation, like not was saying there is like, it's, it was really like kind of important for me to do. And I was like, I was carrying a lot of weight, and that's why I had to like, I talked through it with Tatiana just through a couple texts, and I was like, oh yeah, the layering is so beautiful once you get to see it. Um, and a lot of that is like I've experienced that so many times in my spiritual awakening that like I mean I feel like my whole life has been a spiritual awakening. I've tried out this thing, like tried out that thing, and then like when it doesn't work, it's like time to shed that and like renew yourself. Like the crow got a meal and it's moving on. Like it's like there's nothing more to it sometimes, but now that I've had so many of these things happen within my life, like I'm I've gone into this multidimensionality of myself, and in certain situations where I feel like I mean I can bring back those aspects of myself as a parallel lifetime still living and seeing how it would react in that situation, and I bring those emotions, whatever it is, through it's like when I connect to that parallel lifetime, it comes up from the ground, up through each one of my chakras, and then back down into the ground. Or if I need to let it go to the, like usually I know if I need to let it go to the sun because the sun will be out right then, and I'm like, hey, brother Logos, here, like take this from me. I'm like, let's transmute that bit of energy. We can still let go of some of that, and like I think that's the process of like, we say that we're like having an ego death. It it's like an ego rejuvenation when it really comes down to it, and that's what like I'm finding myself, and like I think that's what we're here to do kind of on earth, is learn how to be true to our individuality, and like bringing your true self is part of like what we keep on hearing a lot of the times is like I want my true self to be like everywhere so that like I can inspire others to have truth in themselves, you know? And the more we're able to do that and see the aspects of ourselves, the more able we are to help others if they need the time to reflect that back to them, in that point in time. And it's like you got to hold a little bit of like almost specialness, but not like in a way that's like detrimental, like something that you can let go of, like those eggs. Like I held a lot of specialness on that, but now that I've let it go, like I'm seeing so many more things that are like happening around me that are just as beautiful. So I think that's all the share that I had at the moment. I appreciate everybody here, like, and the sharing space is like, it is nurturing for the soul, for sure. Thank you.
All right. Let's hop back into the last little bit of the slides. This is kind of a combo between the soul walkout, which we just finished there, and so something that I was thinking about too, and thank you, Vincent, for your shares. Appreciate all of that um, amazing kind of story that you talked us through there. It's very beautiful. And thanks for Tatiana for holding space for our brother too. A lot of value in being witness and having safe and sacred space, especially in this time, And thank you to everybody who's writing in the chat. Leah said, Tatiana, yes, allowing ourselves to feel the process and grief. Leah said, detaching from expectations and ego, dissolving them, feel that somehow we've been purging ourselves wholesomely. I love what Vincent shared too. I wrote it down in my notes here. Ego death versus ego rejuvenation. So that hits, man. I like that. And then also one thing I was thinking about too on the walkout is it's not just necessarily like a one and done thing too. If you can think about yourself, just like MSI, I've had 6, 7, 8 of them performed on me just in the process of my certification. So just wanted to kind of put that caveat on there. And if you're feeling like called to have a soul walkout perform, like I'm aligned and open, and we can schedule something, and it's part of the modality that I'm certified in. You don't need to be certified to do this, obviously. Like, it helps if you've seen one or done one or experienced one, but it doesn't have to be. So I'm just saying, like, if you're feeling like, hey, I have a walkout, I have a version of me, and I want a more formal process of that integration or of that walkout, I'd be more than aligned to schedule something with you and assist you with that. For me, it was something that I've known, and I'm sure Janvier too, like she had shared, but just something that's very, just the ceremony or ritual itself is just very nurturing. So we'll move on to the template. So this is